Hi, thank you for tuning in. I know this is a very controversial topic to discuss. The fact that you've clicked on this link shows that you want to know the truth. So please stay and listen to the whole teaching, and you'll be glad you did. Thank you. One thing that has bothered the youth of our time is the question of premarital sex. Many have brandished this act as a sin, and they teach that sex is only permissible in marriage. This isn't true at all according to the Bible, and I'll prove it to you in this very teaching. My brothers, if you desire to walk with God in truth, then you must learn not to accept something because everyone does. You must learn not to believe what is popular among people, but seek and acquaint yourself with truth that only proceeds from God. In this regard, God gave a strong warning to Prophet Isaiah, as written in Isaiah chapter 8, verses 11 and 12, and it reads, "The Lord took hold of me with his powerful hand and said, I'm warning you. Don't act like these people. Don't call something a rebellious plot just because they do. And don't be afraid of something just because they are. Therefore I say to you, before you accept something, make sure you have done your own research and you are totally convinced that what you have come to accept is an unfeigned truth." One subject that has been greatly misunderstood is the subject of fornication. Several generations, including our generation, have held the view that premarital sex is fornication. The common definition of fornication is sex between unmarried people. This definition is found in several dictionaries, which makes it clear that the view held by many people in this regard is only an English definition of fornication. But that is not the stand of the Bible. As I always say, it is important to refer to the original text when you are studying the Bible. Don't limit yourself to the various translations if you really want to know what the original text implies. Now, according to the King James Version, the word fornication appears 35 times in the Bible, 5 times in the Old Testament and 30 times in the New Testament. In the Old Testament, the word translated as fornication is zana, and it is used to describe the departure of the people of Israel from the worship of God to idols. In the Old Testament, fornication was not known as sexual relations between unmarried people, but it dealt specifically with idol worship. Classic example is a text in Ezekiel chapter 16 from verses 1 to 34. Please take time to study it for more insight. According to the Old Testament, adultery is oftentimes used to describe infidelity outside the bounds of marriage, and we can see it in Leviticus chapter 20 verse 10. In the New Testament, the word translated as fornication is porneia, which is defined as illicit sexual conduct, whoredom, or harlotry. Please note that many New Testament translations use the word sexual immorality in the place of fornication. The New Testament writers did not speak against premarital sex, but they were particular about illicit sexual conduct known as fornication. The New Testament writers defined fornication under 3 key areas. Number 1, fornication was defined as having multiple sexual partners, for which reason Paul admonished his followers to have their own wife or husband, as we read in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 2 and 3. Number 2, we find that in 1 Corinthians chapter 5, Paul defined fornication as sexual intimacy within the family circuit, for he spoke of a man who has sex with his father's wife. Please take time to study these texts. Finally, fornication was once again used to describe idolatry, as we see in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 1 to 8. Now let's consider the heart of the matter. When we study the culture of the people in the Old Testament days, we see that they practice what is called arranged marriages. What this means is that when a man is of age to marry, it is the responsibility of the father to find him a wife. A good example is the story of Isaac, found in Genesis chapter 24. This system of arranged marriages greatly prevented premarital sex. In our present world, the process and system of marriage is more complicated than it used to be. Oftentimes, it is the responsibility of the man to find for himself a wife and vice versa. This is where dating and courting is necessary, because it gives the two parties the chance to better know and understand themselves before they finally decide to marry. Therefore, what we should seek to know is whether sex in relationships is a sin or not. Sexual intimacy between people in relationships can also be regarded as consensual sex. That is, as long as both parties are in agreement. In all the Bible, there is one instance of this, and it is found in Exodus chapter 22, verses 16 and 17, and it reads, "If a man seduces a virgin who is not engaged to anyone and has sex with her, he must pay the customary bride price and marry her. But if her father refuses to let him marry her, the man must still pay him an amount equal to the bride price of a virgin." According to this text, we see that the sexual act between the two unmarried people is not condemned in the Bible. But the man is instructed to pay a virgin's bride price if the lady was a virgin before the act. You notice that there was nothing said about going to hell or being condemned by God or any such thing that we are taught today. This basically tells us that the matters of premarital sex is an issue between the man and the woman and their families, and not God. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bible does not condemn premarital sex, but there is a higher truth which we must all appreciate. Both the Old and the New Testament, in speaking on the subject of fornication, sought to teach people to be faithful. Unfaithfulness to God is where you give an idol the seat you should give to God in your heart. When you become unfaithful to your partner, whether in thought, in word, or in deed, you have committed fornication. Jesus taught that if you lust after someone else other than your partner, then you have committed fornication with that person in your heart. It is not sex in relationships that is bad, but unfaithfulness to your partner. When you cheat on your partner in a relationship, you have committed fornication. This is why Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verses 2 and 3 admonished that you should learn to stick to your own partner. If you cheat in a relationship because of a challenge, you will surely cheat in marriage, because marriage presents a lot of challenges. My brothers, marriage is not a guarantee that your partner will not violate his or her vow. Faithfulness is a character that must be nurtured. The fact that you don't have sex in a relationship is not a guarantee that the man or woman will be faithful in marriage. Faithfulness is what is key. Therefore, let's learn to practice faithfulness in our relationships. It is faithfulness that matters, and not the act of premarital sex.